I wonder sometimes with Martin Luther King, what if he had a perspective where he was only concerned about his own behavior, how things affected his life? What about Malcolm X? What if he focused his perspective on only protecting him and his family, his spiritual beliefs? What if Rosa Parks was only concerned about her own seat on the bus and not the seat of everyone else? You gotta wonder about history. What would have happened if the civil rights movement was about individuals and not only the generation that they fought through, but the generations they fought for? We gotta ask a question about where are we going and what are we willing to sacrifice to provoke true change. If you're tired of hearing me talk about police killings, police violence, I completely understand. This will be the 4th episode I did this year alone. We talked about Ahmaud Arbery. We talked about George Floyd. We talked about Black Lives Matter. I'm pretty sure by now you've had enough of hearing me talk about police killings. Pretty sure you're frustrated with all the talk and all the media coverage. But understand, your frustration that you're feeling only shows that you know exactly how every black person's feeling on earth right now. As we're tired of seeing our brothers and sisters get shot down in the streets, in their own homes, never seeing their due date in court, being killed because they're guilty before proven innocent. Today is not about me, though. Today is not about my perspective. If you're wondering who these two beautiful women are sitting next to me, you heard about them on the show multiple times. One is my mother, Tamla Ryder. The other is my sister, Talisha Henry. I invited them on the show for a specific reason today, people. Because I want you to not hear from a black man what it's like when one of your brothers and sisters get killed, but from true mothers who have black sons. What do they feel? What does the black mothers in this country feel as they're witnessing the killings of black men? What are some of the stories they're telling? What are some of the conversations they're having with their children, their brothers, their sisters, their fathers, about how they protect themselves? Without further ado, let's talk about it. First question I'm going to ask you, ladies, is the George Floyd shooting. See the video? Mm-hmm. All right, we'll start with you, Mom. What was your perspective on the George Floyd shooting when you first seen it? What was your perspective when you heard him crying out for his mom? How did you feel about that?
It felt like my heart sank to my feet because being a mother myself, what could you possibly do? You're not even there. You know, I mean, I don't even know how to I don't know. It hasn't happened to me, so I can't say that I know how to feel about it or how I would feel about it, but I know that it hurt. As a parent, it hurt to see that man laying there crying out for his life, crying out for his mother. And nobody, I mean, it was nothing that anybody could do, nothing that she could do. I don't even think, is his mom still around?
Mother's not here anymore.
No.
Well, you seen the video of George Floyd being shot. Man, you had multiple conversations about the subject. What was your feelings as you seen the cop kneeling on his neck for over 8 minutes while he's crying out not only for air but for his mother?
And that man cried out for his mother. I felt the worst pain that I have ever felt in my life. I felt helpless as a mother. I felt that was my child calling out for me, and there was nothing that I could do. The worst thing you ever felt, and I'm sure that's how we all feeling right now, watching this happening continuously over and over and over. That wasn't the first time, and that wasn't the last time.
As police killings still happening, we see protests around the world. Truthfully, do you feel like these protests are actually going to provoke true change?
Nope.
Why not?
I don't, because the protests are happening, it's true, and for good reason. But the looting behind it, what is that going to do? You know, in a protest, I just think, I don't know, I just think that, granted, I don't think it's going to help.
I think it will, but not on its own. I think there needs to be some other ways to fight this monster. It's like a 5-headed dragon. You can't kill it by attacking one head. That's just attacking it at one aspect. And then the just like you have the protesting, there's the countering with the looting. So again, that's not the only thing that's going to stop it. Not alone by itself, no. But with other avenues, then yes. Because when Martin Luther King marched, it did change. Things did change. But that's not, it didn't happen, it didn't change just because of the march. There were other things that were going on that went hand in hand with it.
I just think that and I agree with what you said, Lish, but I just think that with the protesting, I mean, I just think that, and I'm not gonna say I don't know. I just think that more fathers should be involved, you know, as far as the protesting. I mean, what are we protesting against? In all honesty, because all I hear is Black Lives Matter, which is true,
Right.
which is very true.
Right.
But what else are we protesting against? You know what I'm saying? You keep saying that, but what's the reasoning for what's going on right now? Why are these things happening right now? You know, I'm not saying that everybody out here is good. I'm not saying all our black men are good. I'm not saying they're all bad. You know, but what are we doing to change this? What are we doing to change them? I think it all starts at home with our young men. We need to teach them how to be young men. We need to teach them how to, you know, and I don't even want to say carry themselves when they're out there, you know, because some of them do know how. You know, but then you have these young boys in these gangs, you know, with these guns and I'm not taking up for the police officers. I'm not doing that either.
Right.
But just like those boys are afraid, some of those officers are afraid.
It's an interesting perspective that you said. I want to get back to what you asked about where the men doing as far as protests. I want to get back to that, but let's capitalize. Let's answer some of the questions of what are we marching for. That's a very good question because that's one of the questions asked during the NBA protest. What are we protesting for? What are we looking to get? What's the plan? That's the question. And I think the plan should be we need legislation. We need legislation put in place. When we say legislation, we can't just say put a piece of paper on a congressman, a senator's desk, or a governor's desk. We need legislation that protects good police officers. So we constantly hear the conversation that there's good police out there, there's bad police. The problem is, yes, there is good police, but what is the incentive of a good police officer speaking up against a bad police officer? We put it in context of someone committing a crime in our neighborhoods. Okay, of course, we're often told to speak out, speak up, to tell, but then we're also put in fear that if we speak out, what's going to happen? Retaliation is going to happen. Put in the context of a police officer who decides to speak out against his fellow officer for committing a crime or doing something bad. What are the expectations of that police officer when he goes out on another call, a robbery call, a shooting call, when backup doesn't pop up for him? Because he spoke up about another police officer. He disgraced the blue wall of silence. Legislation need to be put in place not only to protect black people, but to protect good police officers so they feel comfortable, they feel safe to be able to speak up against the bad police officers to root out the problem in the police department. However, that's an issue that we need to march for and what we should be marching for. But you said something about black fathers. What do you mean by black fathers need to be step up in the protest? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, because a lot of fathers are not in their sons' lives. You know, and where are the ones that are? And I'm sure the ones that are probably doing what they're supposed to do. But where are the fathers where are the fathers for the sons who need them? Where are those fathers? What are y'all doing? Why can't y'all step up? You know, step up and go out there and protest for your sons. Right. I don't want to lose my son. You're the only son I have. You know, it would devastate me if you were out there and I didn't have, you know, I couldn't be there to protect you or didn't equip you before you went out there. Where are those fathers? These young men need men in their lives. Not the little boys. They need men to teach them how to be real men. Not thugs, not gangsters, but men. You know what I mean? That's my point. Where are the fathers?
That leads us to the next question I got. Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back while his kids was in the car. Now this is a father right here, as you mentioned. It's a father in the car with his family, in the car with his, I don't know if it's his wife, girlfriend, but he has children in the back of the car. So as we speak about a father being there, being present in life, was there. 7 times he was shot in the back in front of his kids, leaving his children permanently traumatized, and he will never walk again. We have to ask this question when we talk about fathers being in a household. We talk about teaching how to comply to officers. We teach about comply or die. We teach them how to act when they're in public. What do we do when that's not enough? Alicia, I'm going to throw that one at you.
I don't know if that's the right scenario to say that's not enough because he wasn't compliant. Because as a mother, I know that my children are in this car. And I know that my children can see everything that's going on. And I know that these people don't care nothing about my babies or nothing about killing me in front of my babies if I don't do what they want me to do. So I'm going to do everything that I can do to avoid this situation, first and foremost. I saw the video on YouTube. They locked this girl up, had her in the police car, and had her baby in the back of the police car with her. The baby must have been about 3 years old. And the girl was hollering and cussing and kicking and acting a fool. And the baby said, "Mommy, stop yelling because I don't want you to get shot." Wow. Brought tears to my eyes. It brought tears to my eyes because it was, yes, they were dead wrong for putting that baby in the police car with her mother while she's handcuffed. Dead wrong. But at the same time, we have to stand up and be accountable for what we do.
But back to
what we don't do.
The young man, and granted, he was present there for his son. It was a domestic call.
We don't know what it was.
That's what they said. It was a domestic call.
We don't know. I watched the news yesterday. Now, the story's fuzzy. They don't know exactly unless you were there.
The video clearly said it was a domestic call. Now, I don't know for sure what it was.
Okay, let's basically, let's say it was a domestic call. Now, what was your point?
My point being that he was trying to separate himself from the situation. I think it was truly senseless what those police officers did. Okay, he wasn't armed. He wasn't fighting them. He might have been saying, and I don't think he was talking to them. It looked like he was talking to whoever was outside or around or whatever. I don't know. And I could be wrong. He could have been talking to them. But it was verbalizing. He was verbalizing. He had no weapon whatsoever. His back was turned. What else could he possibly have done but stood there, put his hands up, and just didn't move?
That's what he could have done.
But who's to say that they still wouldn't have done what they did to him?
But if he would have done that, who knows? Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't have. But you could have stopped and put your hands up.
Yeah,
and set an example. You have 3 small sons.
Yeah, he very well
in
could
this
have.
car.
Well, let's put in perspective of this, and let's go back for a second because it is past the present, right? So we have to talk about historical events. So let's talk about George Floyd for a second. When George Floyd was laying on the ground with a knee onto his neck, George Floyd was complying. Despite the fact that he couldn't breathe, George Floyd never fought back, never tried to resist. Despite the fact that he did not try to resist, the cop didn't let up. The cop even smirked into the camera as he continued to have his knee on his back. Then we have to look at another case, Ahmaud Arbery. As he's marching, as he's doing something that people do in general in life, jogging down the street, he was traced down and killed because they thought he was guilty of possibly, allegedly robbing houses or looking into a house. We got to also look at Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor was in her home when she was shot, gunned down by police. So we have to ask, even if we comply, will we live?
Will it still happen?
Will it still happen? The argument, it holds credence to it that even if Jacob Brooks, if he complied, would he still be here? Now, interesting fact, Alicia, you made a good point. But I'm going to bring up a personal story. I'm going to share a personal story on an episode about what you just said, and I want to hear both of your opinions on my action and my interaction with police officers. About a year ago, I was on my way to the mall to exchange my kids' shoes. I got pulled over from a police officer who alleged that I ran a stoplight. Now, the police officer, where he was coming from, he was behind the stoplight where he couldn't even see the color of light as I was going through. When he came up to the car, he had his hand on his gun. Now, naturally, I always keep my window down. I grab my license, my insurance, all paperwork they're going to ask before the cop get there. So there's no reason for me to reach for anything when the cop gets to the window. I have my window down, hands on the steering wheel with my license, my registration, and my insurance in my hand. As I'm looking at the window, the cop has his hands on the gun. He only took his hand off the gun when he noticed that my two kids were in the back seat and my wife was sitting next to me asleep. Then he says to me, in exact words, "Do you have a weapon or any harmful or any drugs in here? Or are you committing any human trafficking right now?" Now, I should have made a comment, but I'm going to keep it 100 what I said back to him. I don't have nothing here that I want you to find. Now, do I have any guns or drugs in my car? No, I don't have that. I don't carry that stuff. But I found it disrespectful what the cop said. The cop then, after the interaction, the cop came back, gave me a $197 ticket. I argued back to the cop. I said, "Sir, I didn't run the light. The light was yellow when I came through it. Based off Delaware's driving motor vehicles booklet, if you cannot stop at a yellow light, proceed with caution," which I did. You know what he said to me? "Well, you must have been speeding if you couldn't stop." At that point, I realized, you know what? I'm guilty of something no matter what I do. I'm guilty of something. I was going back and forth with the cop when the cop basically told me, "I'm not going to stand on the side of the road and argue with you." At this time, I was frustrated, and my wife told me to stop sitting and going back and forth for the same exact reason Talisha spoke about. She didn't want to see me become the next victim, get shot. But in the point I was frustrated. I was tired. I felt that this cop was unfairly abusing his power and accusing me of something. I felt I was guilty of something. And what I was guilty of, being a black man driving a nice car, wearing a white t-shirt and a necklace that looks like a drug dealer.
That's all.
So a lot of times when we encounter cops, we do get frustrated. We do get frustrated because it's not that we don't want to comply. What videos don't show, what's not said, is all the interactions that happen. What the cops say to you. At the end of the day, we're human beings. We are human beings and we have pride. There's only so much you can allow someone to say and do to you before you choose to react. Now, that doesn't give anybody the right to sit here and fight and be disrespectful to a police officer, but it also don't give a police officer the right to disrespect anyone else. It's supposed to be to serve and protect. To my story, you ladies say what?
Well, I mean, I agree with your wife. I would have also said, just stop, because I don't want you to be a victim of them, what we know that they do to our black men. And I agree. They stereotyped you. He saw you come through there. He stereotyped you. Oh, he's got a nice car. He got a white t-shirt. He got a chain on. He's a drug dealer. So let me pull him over and see what I can find. Stereotypical. But there's your and I don't want to use the word racist, but there's your bad cop. You happen to run into one of them. Thank God he wasn't in the mood where I just want to shoot this Negro. Thank God he wasn't in one of those moods. But I don't think it was right. If he felt like you ran a stop sign, maybe he should have just came and said, like, I've done this before with a police officer. Do you know what you did? Do you know what you just did? Say no. You just ran a stoplight. I mean, it was just that simple. Something as simple as that, other than, do you have any weapons or drugs or whatever the case may be in your car? It's scary. It's scary. And I guess the reason that I don't know, you're my son. I know that you're not, well, it could happen going to the supermarket. I shouldn't say I know that you're not out there. It could happen going to the supermarket. I pray constantly. All the time. For y'all. All the time. And not just you, the girls too. All the time. Because it could happen to them on the side of the road.
It's happened.
But it's just sad that we're in this day and time that we have to worry about things like this. Our children dying in the street for nothing. Senseless. if not by hand of the police officer, by the hand of somebody else.
Let's just want to get your perspective. What do you say?
It's sickening and it's horrifying.
You speak up a little bit, Mike, pick you up.
That when our men, when our sons, our husbands, our brothers simply walk out the door, you don't know the anxiety we feel, the stress, the fear that you don't know you're going to get that phone call. You don't, anything can happen for any reason. What y'all don't know is my son was arrested. My son was arrested. What did he do? Right? What did he get arrested for? Standing outside with his friend, a little girl, a little black girl. They're standing outside, just hanging out, and they see some people come running towards them through the woods. Now, your natural instinct, if you see people running through the woods coming towards you, what are you going to do?
Run.
You're going to take off running.
Yeah.
So they ran. They don't know who's coming at them. They don't know what's going on. It's the police that's coming through the woods. Now, the police, their first instinct, they see two little black kids running. What do? They chase them. They chase them down, tackle my son and his friend, this little girl, arrest them, throw them in the back of a police car, only to tell them that they were chasing some other suspect. And my son and the little girl look suspicious. So nobody came past here before these police came running through in their direction. So who were you chasing? The two black kids that you saw standing on the other side of these trees? Because nobody came running through these trees but you. It was so scary. And I have talked to my son. My son's 16 years old. I have talked to my son over and over and over because I am afraid when he walks out the door to go to the store, that if these people pull up on you and they decide that you're going to be their target today, I'm going to know that you know what to do, what to say, what not to say, how to control the level of your voice, your body language, anything other than you being black and a man out here can trigger them. Anything. It don't matter. It's just that easy. You can't have an attitude. You can't, what they call it. Like you said, anybody can only take but so much. And it's like they beat you down and they target your insecurities. And if they see that they're getting to you, they continuously prod and pick at that. And then when you react, you're a monster that needs to be destroyed. It's like they call you nigger. And then they poke you and poke you and poke you to get you to perform like the nigga they calling you. So they can justify when they shoot you.
But what do you do when, like, in a situation like what you went through? Okay, like how you handled it. I mean, you know, how you dealt with that, because it kind of made you angry and kind of made you frustrated the way he came at you.
Yeah.
So, what do you think you could have done different in that situation?
I always like to say to people, like, I would tell you what I would do in the situation. You know, when you get asked the question, what would you do if your child comes out and tell you that they're gay or homosexual, or if you were into a fight or something like that, somebody cut you in line at Burger King, what would you do in that situation? And of course, you want to say all the right things you would do, but until you're in the situation, there's no right or wrong answer or how you're going to react. You don't know how you're going to react until you're put in them circumstances. I can sit here and tell you all the things I would like to be able to do. What I'd like to, the smarter thing, and the smarter version of me would have said, hey, keep your mouth quiet. If you feel that upset about the ticket, take it to court and fight it in court. That would have been the best way of handling it. Other people I talked to said the same thing. In the moment, all I could think about is what I feel. I could only think about the fact that you came to the car with your hand on your gun. I only can think about the fact of how you're talking to me in front of my children, my wife.
Right, you gotta control your emotions.
I'm thinking about the fact that I feel like you're unfairly targeting me and it forced me to respond. And the interesting thing is, police officers are trained to deal with a de-escalated situation. Us as civilians, we don't have that same training. We don't have that same training every day to go out here and learn to do it. But as a black man or as a black woman, we gotta teach our children that. We have to train our children to have that development to de-escalate themselves, to de-escalate a situation with the cops. To not, even if the cop is trying to provoke something, to learn how to de-escalate and calm the situation. Where I could have calmed it, yeah, I probably could have. Was I right in the situation? No. No. Put my children in danger, my wife in danger. As much as me being a protector, I'm aware of my actions. I'm aware that my emotions took advantage of me. I'm aware of all things that's happening in the world. But in the midst of the heat of a battle, none of us know how we truly will respond in a situation like that. The issue with this is, I had a conversation with someone, a white woman, about this, and we talked about the Black Lives Matter movement. We talked about what's going on, and their daughter's a cop. And what she said is, well, she used to be a cop. I'm glad my daughter's not a cop no more because I'm fearful and I'm worried about what will happen to her.
Yeah.
You know my response to anybody that say that you're worried about your father, your mother, your daughter, your cousin, aunt, or whoever, police officer? They can take their uniform off. Mm-hmm. They go home and they can eventually take their uniform off. And when they go to the supermarket, out to a restaurant, out for a ride, they're safe.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
They're completely safe from taking that uniform off. Me as a black man, you as black women,
take the blackness off.
We can't take that off. We can't take off the fact that you feel threatened by me because of the color of my skin. Can't take it off. I can't change that about myself, nor can any of us. And despite the fact that I try to talk to my children equally as you have, you've spoken to me, and talk to my children. I have a soon-to-be 11-year-old and 6-year-old. Having conversations with them about how to act when you meet a police officer. The truth is, a lot of times when kids get lost or something at an amusement park, tell them find a police officer. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid to tell my children to find a police officer because I don't know how that encounter is going to end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know when it's seen too many black people that were guilty just because of the color of their skin, just the color they were dressed, the way they were dressed, and were wrongfully convicted before even getting to court. We're running out of time. We're down to like the last 3 minutes, so I got a couple more questions. We're going to do the speed questions here. What do you say to a mother right now who's out here watching the show and is trying to protect her daughter, her sons and daughters from being the next victim? What advice would you give them?
What I would say is educate your children as much as humanly possible. I mean, we can't be with them 24/7. You know, educate your children. Most importantly, educate them. Train them on how to react in a situation. Like you said, you never know until it happens, but we can prepare them. We can prepare them for that situation if it should occur. You know, and if it does happen, I say, I don't know, most and foremost, I say pray. I say pray every day, all day if you have to keep those children covered. You know, but you have to, we as parents, we have to teach by example. You know, we have to show our children exactly what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to carry yourself, how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to react. Not that that's going to make much difference. Right. I'm sorry, I know it's a speed round.
Sorry, I know we got speed round. So listen, real quick, 30 seconds. What would you suggest?
Educate your children. Be open and honest with your children. And make it so that they can be open and honest with you. I do drills with my children because we are living in a jungle, literally. That's what we live in. Survival of the fittest out here. So when my son walks past me at any random moment, I might swing and smack him in the back of his head. Trust me, he's going to duck. He don't see it coming. It's just random out the blue. But it's his reflexes. You know, training them, drilling them. What would you do? Quick, a cop pulls you over. What do you do? Because when you're in those moments, you're not thinking. You're not. It's all subconscious. So if I'm drilling you, then if this situation that I've been drilling you comes up, that training is going to kick in. You feel me? All the open, the honesty, the research, everything is going to kick in. My voice is going to play in their mind, and that's what I want. Stay calm. Keep your hands up. Keep your tone and your voice level.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank y'all both for being here again, doing this episode with me, talking to me, sharing your stories, sharing your feelings, emotions, true emotions to the situation, unfortunate situation where we have another person who is currently dealing with, sorry, my alarm's going off here. Where we have another person dealing with, my phone is going to turn off. All right, there we go. Sorry about that, people. Always got prepared for anything that might come. The point is, the true cure for ignorance is education. As both ladies have mentioned to you, education is the key. Take the time to talk to your children, educate your children. Most importantly, educate yourself. The conversation every single week, every single episode is about educating, re-educating yourself, rebuilding yourself, restructuring your life so that you can get the best out of your life and the best out of your children. Right now, we're in a situation where it's a dire situation where many of our young men, young women are being killed. Many of our black people are getting killed. Now, most people are saying that this is just the media making a big deal out of this, making more to it. Well, I'm looking here and telling you, I have two women right here talk to you and telling you their true fear. This is not a media ploy. This is true feelings, true emotions. I'm a black man. I'm telling you right now, whenever I leave the house, I deal with the anxiety of worrying about a police officer killing me. Making it home to my children, my wife and children is my first priority anytime I leave this home. What I'll tell you again is, re-educate your children. Educate yourself. Find out what's going on. Find ways that you can help. Protest. Get out here and stand up and fight. Put pressure on your local governments to change legislation to not only protect the black people in your community, but also protect the good police officers who want to speak out against the bad police officers who are causing this kind of havoc and destruction. It's time to put an end to ignorance. It's time to put an end to racism. I'm not saying it's going to happen in our generation, maybe not in our children's generation. But at some point, this ignorant disease, like this pandemic that we're dealing with right now, it's going to go away. It's going to be a memory. But in order to erase racism, we got to learn to love each other. Most importantly, we have to learn to love ourselves. I want to thank these beautiful ladies, my mother and my sister, for joining me today to talk to you, to talk to me, to share their story, to educate us all, including myself, on the Past to Present podcast. The Past to Present podcast, excuse me. As usual, if you want to get in touch with me, you know how to do it. Hit me up Facebook, Past Present, Instagram, Alan the Great. Hit me up. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit that like button, people. Until next time I catch you or I see you, people, stay tuned, stay safe.
And subscribe.